Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of the Cover 2 podcast. This is our 2021 NFL Draft Special. I am, of course, Nick Nenad. Alongside me is my usual host, Jared Smith.
What's up? What's up?
And
let's go, baby.
We have two guest appearances today. You know them both. You've seen them on the Cover 2 podcast as well. We have Carolina Panthers fan Ryan RKJ Man Johnson, and, of course, Alex Silva.
Wow, I salute. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Alex, I just want to say this right now. I have not gotten over 2016, and I'm never going to get over 2016, okay?
I've never gotten over that high.
I think I put a hex on your team, and that's the reason why you guys haven't had a quarterback. I just want to let you know that right now. Okay,
Are we saying that yours does? Are we saying that your team does?
I'm sorry, what?
Are we saying that your team does have a quarterback, or?
Oh, we're not talking about my team.
Okay.
Sure. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about your team, okay? Your team has been to the playoffs since we went to the Super Bowl.
I'm just going to sit back.
So back to the draft. Yeah, we all have cold beverages today. I am obviously dressed today as Roger Goodell. I am going to be suspending Alex, Ryan, and Jared's NFL mock drafts because they all suck compared to mine. So I came in here suspending everybody, whether there's injustice or not. But yeah, today it's going to be interesting. We're not going to go through it like a lot of other people do it. We're not going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to just, kind of just talk about the NFL draft. We're going to have some people pick certain picks. We're all going to try to get our own team's picks. Obviously, we got Jared with the Cowboys, Ryan with Carolina Panthers. Alex, I'm not sure if you'll get the Broncos, but it's because we have a couple trades involved in them. And then I will pick the Cardinals if I have a chance to as well. But we will all talk specifically about all our teams because we go in depth and we're sort of experts on our own teams, of course. So we're going to start the podcast today by talking about the first 5 picks. We actually all agreed that 1, 2, and 3 will be quarterbacks. We only had one difference, and that was Jared Smith. Jared Smith had Trevor Lawrence at number 1 going to the Jaguars, Justin Fields going number 2 to the New York Jets, and Zach Wilson going number 3 to the 49ers. The rest 3 of us, had Zach Wilson number 2 and Justin Fields number 3. So, Jared, you have the floor to start the podcast. Why did you pick Fields over Wilson at number 2?
Listen, to be honest, I just wanted to be different. That's who I am. I'm not a sheep. I don't want to follow all of you guys. And no, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. And first of all, thank you guys for being on. This is awesome to have all of us here. Nick and I obviously do our thing, but to have Alex and have Ryan here, it's legit. So I can't wait to talk some stack and get this going. But as far as why I had Justin Fields at number 2, it's very simple for me. And it's the fact of when I look at the Jets depth chart, right, the roster that they currently have constructed before the draft, because who knows if they're going to get a receiver with their second round pick or if they're going to get added weapons before the beginning of the season. So when I look at their current roster right now, they have Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder and Corey Davis as their wide receivers. And I would say that they're, all 3 of those guys, we know them, and you don't have to be an NFL junkie to know those names, but it's like, are any of those guys superstars? Or any of those guys number 1 receivers? In my opinion, no, I don't believe they are. When I look at their running back core, Tevin Coleman is their number 1 running back right now. He was injured the last year and a half in San Francisco, and then he was in a dual running back situation with Atlanta, where he was drafted, right? And so to me, their running back situation isn't necessarily set in stone either. And obviously their offensive line is not up to par because Sam Darnold was being bullied every single start that he had. So to me, I look at it and it's like, okay, Justin Fields and Zach Wilson. To me, Justin Fields not only played in the Big Ten, he played against better competition. And to me, I think he is better suited to play with less talent. I think Justin Fields will make his teammates better, more so than Zach Wilson. To me, Zach Wilson, yes, he played at BYU, and maybe he didn't have the talent that Justin Fields did, but I don't think Zach Wilson can go to the Jets with the team that they have constructed and make them better. I think Justin Fields is a better fit because he can make that team better with less talent.
I think I'm gonna have a different opinion of Alex and RKJ Man here, so I will talk next. I have Zach Wilson at number 2 only because of the media. It seems everywhere I looked during research, every single person that talked about number 2 is high on Zach Wilson. And with the past couple years, and even longer than last couple years, the media has been pretty right about the number 1 and number 2 picks. We can all remember Kyler Murray. Obviously, he was at the bottom of draft boards at the end of the season, and then gradually became the number 1 pick because of the media. Now he's worked out for the Cardinals so far. I would know, of course, but it seems like the media has picked Zach Wilson to be number 2, and that means the experts and maybe insiders in these organizations know Zach Wilson is going number 2. I think the interesting one is where the 49ers are going to pick, or who the 49ers are going to pick, because I personally think they're going to pick they wanted Mac Jones, but again, public pressure from the media and public pressure amongst fans on social media are making the 49ers pick somebody else. So, Alex, Ryan, what do you have to say to that? Because I actually don't even like these 2 picks. I'm picking them because I don't want to be wrong necessarily.
If I was making this draft for what I would do if I was each team's GM, I probably would put Justin Fields with the Jets as well. I do think he's the better NFL-ready quarterback. But going off what Nick said there's a lot of smoke. It's already kind of set in stone that the Jets are taking Zach Wilson. I think that's they have the ears inside the organization. They know what is going to happen. So I think that's more of when I set this mock draft up, I'm trying to predict what's going to happen. So I agree with you, Jared. I think Justin Fields is the number 2 quarterback in this draft. And I would put him with the Jets. But I think I designed my mock draft a little differently. Going off of what you said about the Niners, between Mac Jones and Justin Fields, I think Justin Fields is a way better prospect than Mac Jones. And I think he is a way better fit with Kyle Shanahan because what did he do with RG3? He loves making the quarterback mobile and then building around the running game, and then you have these wide open throws. And Justin Fields does like to push the ball downfield, so I think Justin Fields is that perfect blend of athleticism as well as deep ball touch.
Ryan, so I know you've been very interesting with your analysis of Justin Fields. You actually tried to tell us on a podcast that Justin Fields was a better prospect than Trevor Lawrence. So give your take on these 3 quarterbacks. Why did you end up having Lawrence be number 1, Wilson be number 2, and Fields number 3?
I think Lawrence is just an obvious one, because we saw last week he donated to a Jacksonville charity. And we all know that he's going number 1. It's the college quarterback connection. Number 2, I don't see what people see in Zach Wilson. I think it was the pro day. Everybody goes goo goo gaga over these pro days that these athletes have, and I get it. We haven't had a chance to have this scouting combine, obviously, because of the whole COVID situation. But everybody was seeing these throws that Zach Wilson was making, and everybody was going crazy over that. Although I will say this, Sam Darnold made those throws last year, and I'm not even a supporter of Sam Darnold. Okay, so that was crazy for me to see all these people going crazy over his pro day. As far as number 3, San Francisco, that was the one that I had the hardest time with. But I did some research. That was the one because I had Mac Jones, either Mac Jones, Justin Fields. I even thought about my main man Trey Lance. But here's where I'm having issues with, and here's what I looked back on 2 years ago. Because I don't look at last year because the 49ers were decimated with injuries. 2 years ago, at one point throughout the season, they passed, I believe, they did play action pass about 40% of the time. San Francisco does. So I believe Kyle Shanahan would like some mobility to add to that. It will take some pressure off the running game. 2 years ago, they had a phenomenal running game going on. Last year, we saw what happens. You don't have a running game. You do the play action pass. The play breaks down. Jimmy G is screwed. So you need to have a mobile quarterback who can get outside of the pocket and create plays. And I don't really think Kyle Shanahan has had that. Look at the quarterbacks he's had. Jimmy G, Matt Ryan, really good quarterback, pretty good quarterbacks. Matt Ryan's a great quarterback in my opinion, but he didn't have mobility. And you could argue maybe that was one of the reasons why he couldn't win the Super Bowls because you couldn't get a quarterback who could get outside the pocket and do some things to help extend a play. So I think Justin Fields is probably one of the most ready quarterbacks in this draft besides Trevor Lawrence, honestly, to come into a team right now and win because, honestly, I don't know if San Francisco in this season is going to have Jimmy G on their roster when we start the season, whenever we start the season.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit of a Josh Rosen situation, right? Where Garoppolo's on this roster, and I don't see him like lasting too much longer. And he obviously can play starting NFL quarterback. Can he play Super Bowl quarterback? Clearly not, because he was one of the reasons that they ended up losing. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's already gotten kind of the confidence boost of death, which is he's our guy. So you already know Jimmy G is gone. If he's already gotten that by the coach and the GM, he's our guy. If you have to say it, he's not your guy.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
Really quickly, also, Jimmy G is not owed any money this year. Like, people are like, oh, can we keep him? Like, of course they can keep him. He's not owed any guaranteed money this year. They construed his contract perfectly. So it's a situation where you could keep Jimmy G, but the question is Jimmy G willing to bring somebody on who knows that person's going to be a successor? I don't think so, and I don't blame Jimmy G. I would want to get the hell up out of there too.
I agree with that. He should not stay, and there's no reason why you should back up. And essentially, the coach is saying, "Well, I don't think you're good enough, and if you have to end up coming into a game, we're screwed," kind of thing. So getting to this is a great quarterback conversation here. We're going to get to the number 4 pick because I think a lot of us have interesting takes. But number 5, we all picked Penei Sewell from Oregon. He opted out last year. We have not seen him since 2019. At number 5, I personally picked him because here's what I said. Joe Burrow got hurt last year because they didn't have an offensive line. If they would have had an offensive line, we'd be looking at him as the next big thing, and we'd be looking at him as like Patrick Mahomes 2.0 or something like that, right? And so, did anybody else think possibly the Bengals could pick anybody else here? Jared, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, listen, you guys talked about how number 3 with the 49ers was one of your hardest picks to make. Honestly, it was a tough pick for me with the Bengals because, yes, I wanted to go Jamar Chase. I wanted to pair Joe Burrow up with his LSU teammate and let that roll, right? Because in 2019, when Joe Burrow was there, when they won the national championship, Jamar Chase had 20 touchdowns and like almost 1,500 yards receiving. So, that connection right there is so special. And there is something to be said about a quarterback and wide receiver connection. But like you mentioned, Nick, the fact that Joe Burrow did tear his ACL, he did have injuries, and that Bengal offensive line is not great at all, right? So, and we saw in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes, you don't have an offensive line, doesn't matter how great you are, doesn't matter if you have a $500 million contract. You need big boys up front that can protect you in order for you to have time to get the ball to your weapons. So, to me, that's why you're right. The Bengals had a better offensive line. I probably would have went with Jamar Chase or one of those elite receivers. But unfortunately, they do not. And so I think you have to pick the best tackle to protect Joe Burrow's blindside.
Well, and Penei Sewell also like one of the best tackle prospects the last few years too. Like this guy is legit. You're not going to miss out on this unless this guy gets hurt or has a catastrophic injury or something. So, I at least say when you're that bad and you're rebuilding. You guys are both excited.
Yeah, we're like,
Yeah. When you're that much in a rebuild, I think you pick the best player available. And at this point, Penei Sewell is the best player available, besides maybe Jamar Chase, like you mentioned, Jared. RKJ Man, I'll let you go next.
Look, man, I want the Panthers to get Penei Sewell at 8, but I even know that it would be crazy for Cincinnati to pass up on Penei Sewell. Why? Because today, when I saw Cincinnati modeling off their new uniforms, which pretty much looked like the same thing as the old ones.
I saw this too.
Not great.
I mean, I don't know what they were doing. You saw Joe Burrow in a chair, but if you look closely, according to Twitter, you can see a little slit in his knee. And guess what that is? That's
not a little slit.
My bad. It's a huge slit. It's an ACL tear that they had to do for the surgery. So it's an incision. So it's a situation where if you do not get Penei Sewell, you're possibly risking your career or your future franchise quarterback, and you might be drafting a quarterback next year because this guy might not even make it 2 years.
Yeah, it's definitely a dire situation in Cincinnati that I believe Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback in this league eventually. So I hope he does well. Alex, you had something to say too on this matter.
Yeah, just to add one more, feather in Sewell's cap is that he's also only 20 years old. So he's still physically developing. He's still going to he has so much more room to get better. And you look at some of the other tackles in this class, like the Elijah Vera Tucker, I believe, is 23. So like he looked great, but he's a man among boys. Penei Sewell looked great when he was like a true sophomore in 2019, his last year that he played. So I think going off that fact that he is still on the rise, I think just you don't really want to pass up on those But it's like, well, they actually have that guy there, so they might follow through.
and Mike Maylock have been there drafting.
Mayock. All right, so at number 20, the Chicago Bears, it's their original pick. And listen, they could obviously use quarterback help. They got the red rifle and Andy Dalton from my Cowboys. Good luck. They kept Allen Robinson. I forget if it was the franchise tag. I know they didn't sign him long term, right? But they were able to at least keep him for this upcoming season. They have David Montgomery. So they do have some weapons on the outside. I could see an offensive tackle here. Their offensive line is god-awful. But for me, they had to release Kyle Fuller because of salary cap issues. And I think Kyle Fuller was one of the most underrated corners in this league. He's been a Pro Bowler before. And even though Chicago is a major city, I just don't think he gets the recognition that he deserves. So because he was released for salary cap purposes, this is where I see Greg Newsome, the cornerback from Northwestern, coming in and slotting right in. He will be a day one starter for this Bears defense that is already legit. Just makes it even more good.
Greg Newsome, a Northwestern Chicago guy already. He stays in Chicago. All right, number 21 with the Colts, Alex Silva. Give it away.
So one of the biggest issues with the Colts this year was their pass rush. Yes, they had Justin Houston. Yes, he was doing some good things. I don't know how much longer they have with that. I think they take the second best defensive end, and one of the guys who has the highest ceiling when it comes to the edge position is Jason Owe out of Penn State. The dude ran I think a 4.39. Like, what are we talking about here? The guy is fast off the edge. He has crazy good moves. The only thing is he doesn't have a lot of tape, and he isn't the heaviest guy. So defensive end might be tough for him. They could put him an outside linebacker in a Justin Houston-esque role, but I think they take one of the most highest ceiling defensive end prospects in the draft.
I had Jalen Phillips. I think Jalen Phillips is a better prospect than OA. So that's the only thing I disagree with on there. RKJ, do you have anything to say about this, or
Jalen Phillips too? For me too. I had that one too.
Perfect. So you had an interesting one at 22. You're actually picking a guy that they have positions filled at 22 for the Titans, but you're still picking that position. Tell them what position that is.
Asante Samuel Jr. I guess, I mean, people just hate his size and whatnot, but I mean, they got rid of some players. They got rid of Malcolm Butler. He's with your Arizona Cardinals, Nick, and got rid of a couple other players. So I mean,
Adoree Jackson. So, it's a situation for me personally. They're going to get a situation where they get Asante Samuel Jr., 179 yards in coverage last year. His father played in the NFL, so he can give him some great pointers, and they need some help in that regard.
Anybody disagree with the corner pick? I had them going safety because they still had Mo Rig on the roster, and Kenny Vaccaro is gone, so they need safety too. That defense was not good last year, and was the reason they didn't have a chance at the Super Bowl.
Como City say not good.
Yeah, I had them going Jalen Phillips. I thought that he fits a 4-3 scheme better. That's the only thing. Yeah.
I actually thought of Christian Barmore too with this pick because they need some interior defense. So
they need everything.
I was surprised that you went so high with Barmore.
Jeffrey Simmons. He's good.
But all right, so I'm gonna go with the Jets pick here, number 23. This is an interesting one because this team is so bad that it's hard to pick these ones where they need so much. I went old school this. I've done this the whole draft. It's my theme of the draft: quarterback tackle combo. Now I know they already have Mekhi Becton. I have them drafting my best tackle on the board still. That's Jalen Mayfield from Michigan. I think they have the tackle combo. They protect Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, whoever they end up picking, or for God's sake, Trey Lance if they have him too. But I have the Jets picking tackle. You guys, I'm actually interested to hear what you guys have for the Jets because obviously this is they could pick anything here. Like, does anybody have a crazy pick here, a wide receiver or anything like that here?
Yeah, I got a receiver. I got them taking Terrence Mitchell out of LSU. They want to get
Terrence Marshall.
Oh, I thought it was Mitchell. My bad. Terrence Marshall. Yikes.
Marshall.
I got taking him, the LSU receiver. Big, fast.
That guy.
He's kind of like when you think of a receiver, when you picture him in your head, he looks like a receiver. He doesn't do anything. He's not the fastest. He's not the quickest. He's not the big body guy, Mike Evans. He's just a really good receiver. I think he, provides a really good weapon for Zach Wilson year one.
I got the Jets getting Rashard Bateman from
I like that too.
Minnesota. He had some issues. I think there's not much tape on him because Minnesota had a really weird year last year with the COVID. Like most of their games got canceled, and he actually caught COVID before the season. So I have him actually dropping because of that. But I think he's a good addition to the Jets, who need some offensive firepower for Zach Wilson.
Didn't Minnesota have like a lot of? Didn't their coach like beat one of the players or something like that a couple of years ago? I might be completely wrong, and it might be a way worse situation that we can't talk about in this podcast. But does anybody remember if the coach beat somebody? I just want to know.
I don't think so. I think it's the Minnesota Vikings, and like
PJ
one of the guys died.
No, it wasn't that. Oh,
yeah.
You know what? That's what it was. It was a player died. So we're gonna move on. Jared, number 24 with the Steelers.
Just really quick, I wanted to say, this podcast just went real south.
Yeah.
I just want to say with the Jets, I agree that they go with an offensive weapon. Quarterback's best friend, running back, Najee Harris. I think we with the Jets number 2 pick, we all have them taking a rookie quarterback. Give them the do-it-all running back that can help them out, Najee Harris. At 23.
Yeah,
so Steelers 24, back-to-back running backs. Travis Etienne, Clemson.
I had Najee Harris for this pick. So
Steelers had 0 running game last year. That was in part because Big Ben literally could not take a snap from under center because he was so banged up. And who knows if he will make it even 5 games into the season. But Travis Etienne, from Alex Silva, from what he has told me, because at first I thought he was just a third down back, kind of catching receiver type of back. But in his early days at Clemson, he was running between the tackles. He was that kind of bowling ball, first and second down back. And so because he can be a do-it-all guy, the Steelers desperately need one, especially after losing James Conner.
Last year, we had Jordan Love going to Green Bay in what was a really, really sketchy decision. This year, I have Pittsburgh getting Kyle Trask from Florida. I have them getting Ben Roethlisberger's replacement, honestly. And I like him, honestly. He's got a big arm, big dude, 6'5". He's 23, so he's not too young, not too old. He's just got to cut down on the turnovers. I think he can learn behind Ben Roethlisberger for a couple years, and he'll be the next big thing, if you will, in Pittsburgh. So
a couple years is in 1 year. Big Ben ain't got much left.
Yeah.
You can't squat.
First off, I got the Steelers taking Elijah Vera Tucker. He's still on my board.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, I think he falls a lot. I mean, I think he's the 4th best tackle, so I think that's fair. But because whoever the quarterback's going to be, they need another tackle. I think Villanueva is.
He's actually in Baltimore right now.
Yeah, he left.
Yeah.
So I was like, Villanueva's not there. They need an offensive line help pretty bad. And then push back against the Kyle Trask kind of talk. They got Mason Rudolph, who I think is Kyle Trask, but better. He throws deeper. And they have Dwayne Haskins. So I think they have their, let's take a chance quarterbacks already in the quarterback room. So I don't think they're going to – and they're not going to get another statue, throws the ball, without respect for the ball type quarterback in Kyle Trask.
That's a little bit.
I agree with Alex, but Alex also has Mason Rudolph in his fantasy football team.
I have both those guys. You can have Dwayne Haskins and Mason Rudolph. My point is, I'm just saying they have the Kyle Trask mold of, to hell with it, throw it up and see what happens. Quarterback. It's not like they're changing that by adding Kyle Trask. That is what Kyle Trask is. So
here's the thing. I'll say
if they were to bring Kellen Mond, they'd be like, well, that'd be interesting.
Kyle Trask has some mobility. I do remember some times where he had the putt. I thought he had some mobility, right?
Remember when I said that I had a girlfriend who went to University of Florida? He does not have mobility.
Oh, he doesn't have mobility.
He stays between the hashes.
Oh, he stays. Okay, yeah.
Wow, yeah. Alex just slipped up. Nobody heard him on the podcast a second ago.
Oh, what did I say?
You say girlfriend, not fiance.
Fiance. Sorry.
I got your back.
Well, we'll edit it out. I'll say this. I would have Mac Jones going to the Steelers if I didn't have him going to Washington. I had Najee Harris going to the Steelers because I think they need a running back. So, Jared, I agree with you on that one. 25 is Alex Silva, Jaguars, their second pick in the first round.
I haven't taken Rashad Bateman. I think he's actually the fourth best receiver. I think they would get that out of that first tier of Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. I think he's the next best receiver. He separates at the line, he separates within the route, and he attacks the catch point like a pro. He's 6'1", 215. He's a big guy. He can go over the middle. He can go on the outside. He is a all-around receiver. I think he gets Trevor Lawrence a very solid weapon to use year one.
Does anybody not have a receiver on this one? Jared, who do you have?
Safety, Trevon Moehrig.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would go with that one if I still am on my board. I had Travis Etienne combining with Trevor Lawrence as the teammates. Because here's the thing: if you can't, there's no tackles left. They need to tackle. Cam Robinson's awful. They need everything. They need to protect Trevor Lawrence. But what's the best net? The next best thing is either a receiver or running back. I said, why not his former teammate Travis Etienne? Like, might as well just keep him on the same team. Urban Meyer, yeah, the college connection, all that stuff. And so I went with that. RKJ Man, did you have anybody interesting on this one, or I'll let you go with the Browns next?
I had a tight end, Tommy Tremble, I think, the dude from Notre Dame, because I saw they needed.
They do need a tight end for sure.
They needed tight end, but I saw this and it just jumped out at me, and I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this real quick. NFL, according to NFL.com, they compare his toughness and athletic profile to that of Kevin Winslow Jr.
Better than Aaron Hernandez.
Yikes.
I'll say that.
Hey, Commish, just go ahead and suspend Ryan.
Yeah, suspended. Right, no, that's suspended.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to make a joke about Pitts in Florida and tight ends and all that stuff. So I'm not too mad at him for making a Kellen Winslow Jr. joke. It's better again. It's a better comparison than Aaron Hernandez. I'll just say that. 26. Speaking of bad things, the Browns. Ryan, you got that one next.
I got something interesting happening here. I got a trade. I got Green Bay trading up real quickly to get Cleveland, to trade with Cleveland and to get wide receiver Elijah Moore.
Yes,
finally.
Wide receiver. That's all the Packers need to draft. Wide receiver.
Finally, like the draft can be over. Like the Green Bay Packers don't even need to do any more drafting after this. They're going to get something that's going to keep Aaron Rodgers happy. It's going to get him another playmaker. I like this dude opposite of Devontae Adams. So I really think Elijah Moore is a good guy, a good player, and I think he'll work well in that system for Green Bay.
I agree. I have the Packers at number 29 picking Elijah Moore, so I agree with you completely. They absolutely need to pick a wide receiver, and if they don't, then there's going to be problems. I think we all agree, right? Wide receiver for the Packers, we're going to skip their pick because they need to draft a wide receiver.
I got Kadarius Toney from Florida, but yes, I have wide receiver.
Okay, I'll give you insider information on Kadarius Toney. My brother works out with him occasionally because he's, like I said, he's a wide receiver, D2 college. No disrespect, only disrespect to Trey Lance. But he said Kadarius Toney looked worse than a lot of the receivers that were there. And my brother's a high school, essentially a freshman wide receiver at Yale. So Kadarius Toney didn't look good in the workouts. I'm just saying that's my basis of analysis on Kadarius Toney. I was gonna pick him for the Ravens at 27. I did not because I called my brother. I said, "What did Toney look like in the workouts?" He said, "Not that good."
Got it.
Yeah.
Browns. I haven't taken linebacker Zaven Collins right now. Their middle linebacker situation's a little rough. Yeah. And Zaven Collins is one of my sneaky, like, could be one of, like, the top 10 players in this draft. It's just he doesn't really have the competition to go up against, all these things. But he blitzes. He had the highest coverage grade, according to PFF, of any linebacker in college this year. And he's a 260. So he's a big guy moving. And anytime you get a big guy moving, especially at the linebacker position, that's what you want. So I think the Browns can use him very effectively, especially with that front four, where they don't even need to blitz, but they could blitz him when they want to. That's terrible. Yeah.
They actually ended up getting Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
Like we talked about in the podcast. So, yeah, that team is stacked. I have Zaven Collins, too. Jerry, did you have anybody interesting for this pick, or do you want to move to your number 2?
No, I had a linebacker, Jamin, I'm sorry, I'm butchering his name. Jamin Davis from Kentucky. Jamin Davis from Kentucky.
Yeah, that's good.
So I had a linebacker,
He's
too.
good.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Jerry, you got 27, the Ravens.
Rashad Bateman. He's still on my board, and he comes off. The Ravens, listen, the Ravens have been looking for a legit big body number one receiver since Lamar Jackson entered the league, right? They have Marquise Brown, who is that deep threat speedster guy. You got Miles Boykin. They signed Sammy Watkins, but Sammy Watkins is always injured, can never stay healthy. They took a flyer last year on Dez Bryant. Obviously, that didn't work out, right? So they've been looking for a number one true wide receiver. They tried to get Juju Smith-Schuster from the Steelers. Juju Smith-Schuster took less money to go back to the Steelers, right?
Boo.
So I don't know if that
Boo.
just says more about his loyalty to the Steelers or the fact that he just doesn't want to play in an offense where he's not going to get the ball as much. But I have the Ravens taking Rashad Bateman. Off of everything that Alex has said, I don't need to, repeat it again. He's probably the fourth best receiver in this draft. And, Lamar Jackson gets another playmaker.
Does anybody think that the Ravens shouldn't draft a wide receiver? Because this was a very popular pick. Who do you got, Alex?
So if Rashad Bateman's there, he is literally the best pick because they need a big-bodied, big target receiver.
Right.
In my draft, he's already gone. So I had them taking safety Trayvon Moehrig because right now both their safeties are sixth-round picks. Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott. They don't really have any type of real playmakers there. They have guys who can do the job. Deshaun Elliott's good, but they don't have the guy who's going to go steal the ball. He's not going to ball hawk. They don't have that playmaker.
True.
I think you get a guy like Trayvon Moehrig later in the draft. The value, safety is a fairly low value position for the NFL. So you get him later in the first round, but you get the number one safety. That's worth it. Also, this is also a big trade back position, I think, for any team trying to move up to get a Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond type player.
Interesting. All right, we got, I think it's you, Alex. You got the Saints at number 28. This is interesting.
Yeah. I got them taking outside linebacker, defensive end, depending on what scheme they were in, but Azeez Ojulari. They lose Trey Hendrickson. Their defense is one of the most expensive defenses in the league in terms of players that are on contract right now and are going to be on contract next year. You got guys like Marshawn Lattimore, Marcus Williams, P.J. Williams. All these guys are up for contract. Cam Jordan. I think he's already on a very high contract. Yeah. So these guys that not only right now but in the future are going to be expensive. Let's get a position where they can add to it and will play right now and will be cheap. So I think Azeez Ojulari, he's the this year's speed rusher. He will take the edge. He's kind of a liability in run defense, but he will make that tackle burn his calories.
I have the Saints actually going because I still have Caleb Farley on my list. I got Caleb Farley going to the Saints because not only do they not have a number 2 corner, but Marshawn Lattimore is in trouble right now. And you never know what goes on with him. And he had that stuff with the police and all that stuff. So I got them drafting corner and a guy that, might not work out because it's still a good team, right? It's still a good team. This is one of those teams in the Saints that does need to draft perfectly because they still have a very solid team. Obviously, as a top team in the NFL, you want to draft so that players don't end up completely disintegrating on you. But I think Caleb Farley, in my draft, a lot of people are passing on him because of the injury issues, and I got him dropping to the Saints because they need corner help, and that's at least what my thought process was on it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good thing for my Carolina Panthers. So that's why I'm hoping that we trade up to go get Caleb Farley and steal him away from the Saints because I don't want to get beat twice a year anymore from the Saints anymore. Sick of them.
Yeah, you know what? I think I mixed up the Falcons with the Saints, which is a stupid thing to do, but the Saints are the ones that beat you every year, not the Falcons. So I digress.
Last year we went to the Super Bowl, so.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. All right, so we're going to skip the Packers because they should draft a wide receiver, and if they don't, they're sorry. Okay. Number 30, RKJ Man, you got the Bills. This is an interesting one, too.
Yeah, they brought back a lot of people. I didn't really know. This guy from Penn State University, Pat, I don't even know how to say his last name.
Freiermuth, the tight end.
Yeah, I just saw Rob Gronkowski comparisons. So I just saw people comparing him to Rob Gronkowski. I was like, man, Rob Gronkowski was pretty good. So,
is that your third tight end?
It is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
They need edge. They need edge help, in my opinion. I have Julari, Aziz Julari going to the Bills because their edge rushers are not very good, and that Bills defense isn't that good either. Like very overrated defense, and the Bills will not win a Super Bowl with that type of defense. They need to fix their defense quick. They got too good of an offense with Diggs and what's his name?
Can't even say the other guy.
Josh Allen.
That good.
I don't know why I forgot. Sorry. But I can also see them going running back. But I took Etienne and Harris already. So if those guys are on the board, I got the Bills drafting a running back because the running backs aren't very good. I got them going edge on defense. I think that's a little bit more important.
I'll go. I think their edge is fine. I think Jerry Hughes and man, I was just looking at it.
Epinesa?
No, Mario Addison.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, yeah.
They got Mario Addison from Carolina, and then AJ Epinesa is like the swing guy. I think their edge is solid enough. I think their corners are amazing. I think their running backs, they got Zach Moss and Singletary that do the job they want them to do. You know, they're not trying to be running the football team. I think you need to unlock Josh Allen a little bit more. You give them a deep threat. You give them Diami Brown from UNC. This is the guy who's going to make Sam Howell the first overall pick next year. This is the guy he's been airing it out to. The guy dominates down the field. And what's a bummer is his skill set is actually better for the slot or underneath routes. So the fact that he can do both, I think, is going to allow Stephon Diggs to work deeper or work more shallow. It makes their offense a little bit more dynamic, more guesswork. I think they give him another wide receiver talent, especially a deep threat with Diami Brown. I love Diami Brown. And you let Josh Allen compete for the MVP this year, I think.
Interesting. I didn't think wide receiver for them, but do they still have John Brown as well?
No, right now it's Gabriel and Cole Beasley.
And Emmanuel Sanders.
They got Sanders?
Yeah.
It's not on their roster right now.
It's on ESPN's roster.
Same thing happened.
They picked him up when the Saints let him go.
With these later picks, it's a little tougher for me to get into them, so I don't blame you, Alex, for not knowing Sanders went to the Bills. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So
yeah,
the last
he's not really a deep threat anymore.
I'm not saying that.
Deep threat with the Saints.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's getting a crowded wide receiver room.
No, I mean, you got a lot of old guys on that team now, though, with Beasley and with Sanders. Those guys aren't the future. I don't mind his wide receiver pick. And that guy from North Carolina that you mentioned, I forgot his name.
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell and him, North Carolina was ranked high at some points last year because of that duo. So I don't disagree with that at all. Does anybody think that at number 31, the Chiefs should not draft a tackle? Because that's what lost them the Super Bowl. They lost so I have them going Liam Eckenberg from Notre Dame just because he's my best tackle on the board still. Nobody disagrees, so we just move on to Buccaneers. Buccaneers are interesting with me because I had no idea who to pick for them because they're so good. I think the Buccaneers realistically don't need to draft anybody. They could just give their pick away and they still might win the Super Bowl this year. Their team's so good. You got Tom Brady, you got a stacked defense. I had them going either Barmore if he's still available, Asante Samuel Jr.
That's who I went.
That's what I got.
Or a linebacker to potentially replace Levante David in the future. Because Levante David's older, but I really didn't know who to pick for. Does anybody have a solid pick for the Buccaneers?
I got them taking. Sorry, go Jared.
I know. I went Barmore. He was still on my board, and like Alex mentioned, I think he's the only first-round defensive tackle that is worthy of being picked. And he just gets the luxury of going from the college football championship winning Alabama team to the Super Bowl winning Patriots team. And so he gets to sit behind Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh. And then, Ndamukong Suh is only on a 1-year deal. And so, basically Christian Barmore and Vita Vea will get to be the long-term answer at defensive tackle. And that's pretty nasty. So you're right. I think for the Bucs, they're literally just – this is all luxury pick. They can go wherever they want, but all they're doing is just stacking on top of depth. Can't really go wrong here.
I went with Asante Samuel Jr. because they've already proven in the last couple of years that they're not afraid of drafting at a position of strength or drafting at a position they've they've recently drafted at. They went, Vernon Hargraves, they went Carlton Davis, they went Antoine, Winfield Jr. Like, they're like, we know this is one of the premier positions in the league is defensive back. And I think they take the next best one, especially one that like kind of fits their scheme of a cover 2 and a guy that has that kind of, mentality of like, let me get in your face. Like they like that player. So I think Asante Simon Jr. would be a great pick for them. I'm not entirely sure if he falls down to there, but if he does, that's a home run pick for them.
Absolutely. RKJ, who'd you? Because I didn't know who really to pick here. I picked Asante Simon Jr. because I just feel like he fit in a Buccaneers uniform. But RKJ, who'd you end up having at 32?
Look, man. I mean,
probably another tight end.
No, I didn't pick a tight end, Jared. I picked another quarterback. Actually, I got the quarterback from Stanford, Davis Mills, who I hear very good things about. Could be the successor for Tom Brady.
He just wants to get the 5th round pick on guys.
He does. I know. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I just got something out of the hat. I was just like, whatever. They got everything. Just add a quarterback to be behind Tom Brady, learn for a couple of years, and then he could take over after Tom Brady.
I actually almost picked Kyle Trask at 32, so I can't blame him. Only because Trask with the body type behind Brady for 2-3 years, anybody behind Brady could do well. I know, Brian Hoyer didn't end up being the best. Jimmy Garoppolo is still a solid quarterback, but I think a guy coming in, a young guy that had success in Florida, that was, besides a shoe being thrown, was close to being in the national championship picture, right, from that guy who threw that shoe last year. Kyle Trask is a little underrated at quarterback. So I thought about that for this pick too, but I think they should go depth more than they should go a quarterback. I think Brady's sticking around for another 10 years anyways, so it doesn't even matter. All right, well, hey, guys, that's our NFL draft. Amazing. We had fights. We had everything on here. I dressed up the most. Jerry, I might have to wear this every single time on the podcast now. I might have to wear a suit every day.
No, you go right ahead. It actually does look pretty good.
It's been hot.
You got the hair slicked back a little bit. It's nice.
I know.
It's good.
Well, as commissioner, once again, after hearing your guys' drafts, I do suspend all 3 of you until Wednesday.
Ryan's for damn sure.
For sure. No doubt.
So are we going to have
I will allow this, though. You guys are unable to talk about the NFL draft until Thursday, next Thursday.
Right.
Next Thursday, you can talk about the NFL draft. But until then, I'm suspending all you guys as the commissioner of the Cover 2 podcast from talking about the NFL draft because we just talked for 2 hours and I just knocked my computer down a second ago. So, but that's our NFL draft, guys. This will be the content that you'll be seeing for the next week. We will be back after the NFL draft to talk, obviously, post-NFL draft. If you guys can be on, too, we'd love to have you on and talk about what happened and all that stuff. I'd love to hear RKJ Man complain about his Panthers pick because I know he's going to hate it. And I would love if the Cowboys did not pick Surtain for some reason.
Don't bring that bad juju around here. Don't you say that.
Great content. And Alex, I apologize for giving you Trey Lance because I don't think he's going to be that good. But we'll see what happens.
I'll take him.
And if the Cardinals get Kyle Pitts, I am going to be excited.
I'm gonna look back at all your guys' drafts, and I'm gonna do like a point system.
Absolutely.
As to who got the most right. So
for sure. No, we should
do it.
Let's look for that.
We already know Ryan will be last because he took 5 tight ends and 5 quarterbacks.
I think that's true.
Fine.
That's why we're betting.
Number one, I'm Black Stradamus for a reason, man. I've been on fire lately.
Blasphemous.
No,
you got it wrong.
Black Stradamus.
Because Jared, he picks one wrestling match correct out of 8.
No. I picked all the wrestling matches correct. I was completely right on everything.
Oh man.
And we're done.
I got dinner.
Real quick, we gotta go. We got dinner. We got whatever. I got bowling. I'm going to bowl. But Cover 2 podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the NFL draft. We sure will. We hope you enjoyed our mock draft. See you guys.